Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum, and we're going to be looking back at the year-to-date return on investment, or ROI. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and again, check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Let's go ahead and jump in. We understand there's quite a lot of seasonality in relation to cryptocurrencies and how they tend to act very familiar at various phases of the market cycle. For instance, you will find that in 2022, Ethereum does not look that dissimilar from what was experienced in 2018. You will also find that what Ethereum is experiencing in 2023 is not that different than what we saw in 2019. In fact, if you were to show every single chart or every single year-to-date ROI on one chart, you will see that there's one that it's tracking the closest right now, and that of course is the pre-halving, the Bitcoin pre-halving year of 2019. And when you look at it, you'll see that at this point in 2019, the year-to-date ROI of ETH was more or less around the same level as it is today. We've also talked a lot about seasonality of Ethereum and how, typically speaking, it tends to perform best in Q1 and Q2, but that in Q3 and Q4, it tends to not do as well, especially in the pre-halving year. We only have a single data point, but if you go look at other assets that are older, you'll also find very similar trends. Even if you just look at Bitcoin, you'll often find that it doesn't tend to do that well in the second half of the pre-halving year. So the question here is, have we just experienced a tempered version of 2019 where it didn't go up nearly as high, but because it didn't go up nearly as high, it hasn't dropped nearly as much? So you can see that Ether basically just went up and has gone sideways basically since, March or April. Now, while Bitcoin went on to put in new yearly highs as late as July, you can see that Ether has not taken out its April high. And this goes into the idea that Ethereum tends to underperform Bitcoin during, especially during the pre-halving year. And I think we're seeing that play out again. Now, the thing to take a look at here closely with ETH is, does it start to fade back down as we get further out into the year, as August continues to pass us by and we get into September, which does not have great seasonality for the Cryptoverse, and then October, November, December. We know that last cycle from, really starting from June until December, Ether slowly faded back down. We know that in 2020, we saw Ethereum explode to the upside, but it doesn't change the fact that in the pre-halving year for Bitcoin, Ethereum faded in the second half of that year. So we basically had a reprieve from the bear market of 2018 for the first half of 2019, and then we slowly faded back down. I'm arguing that we could see something very similar. The thing to watch for over the coming weeks is, does Ether sort of sell back off into these lows down here where it's potentially only 20% or so above the yearly open. The thing that I want to remind people of is how in 2019, Ethereum closed the year below its yearly open, despite the fact that at one point it was up almost 2.5x. This time it went up, about 1.75x, and now it's only sitting up about 1.54x off of its yearly open. But again, in 2019, Ethereum went up all the way to almost 2.5x, but still closed the year below its yearly open. Will it also occur this time? I think that's sort of the question, and it could very well be a likely outcome, and this could simply just be a tempered version of 2019. What I find fascinating is the fact that Ether closed below its yearly open in the pre-halving year for Bitcoin of 2019, but during that same year, Bitcoin did not close below its yearly open. In fact, it closed up almost about 1.9x, whereas at the highs, it was up about 3.43x. So it is interesting to see how Ethereum has performed in relation to Bitcoin, and to really see that there's a lot of cause for this time is different, but we haven't really seen anything different this time at all. It's been mostly the same. In fact, a tempered version of what we saw in 2019. And again, if you just pull all of the lines up here, there's one line that matches the best with 2019, and it's the current year, which also happens to be a pre-halving year for Bitcoin. It also happens to be the pre-election year. I'll let you figure out which one is the more important thing to take a look at. There's not a right answer necessarily, but I did think it was worthwhile to provide this update because I think the last time we talked about this was several weeks ago, And now I wanted to provide an update because we are sort of getting closer to that point where we have historically seen Ether fade back down into that late Q3 timeframe. So let's see if it plays out like it did last time. If it does, it doesn't necessarily mean anything other than this time is not necessarily different. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and again, check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. I'll see you next time. Bye.